introduce Ryan. Give him a standing ovation as he gets started.
All right, thanks. Thanks, I'm excited to be here today. And Kim, actually, that was a great segue to my talk, so thanks for that segue. There's an old saying that to start a business, all you need is an idea, people, talent, and money. So put simply, Lubbock Angel Network wants to be the money in that equation. So Lubbock Angel Network, we formed a little over a year ago, January 2015, and our aim is to bring investment opportunities to a network of investors, and those investment opportunities are typically scalable businesses, technology-based businesses that are based on intellectual property and have high growth potential. Lubbock Angel Network is one of 13 angel groups in the state of Texas, one of 240 across the U.S. There's about 13,000 angel members across the United States today. So the way it works is we hold meetings. We've got 30 members today. Angel investors will usually have about 3 presenters at each meeting. The angel investors will listen to the pitches and determine if they have an interest in any one of those businesses. If they have an interest, we'll move forward to a next step of doing further due diligence. And then angel investors make individual decisions if they're going to invest in a business or not invest in a business. So we're not pooling money together, creating a fund or managing a fund. It's individual investors making individual decisions. I want to take you through a brief, our history, how we got here, why we formed the Lubbock Angel Network. My background is in technology commercialization. I spent 4 years at the Texas Tech Office of Research Commercialization. What that office does is we patent all of the research that's going on at university, in particular which research has commercial value. And then we work to make money from that research. So we patent it, and then we try to license it out to 2 groups. We either license it out to big industry or to startups. And so through that effort and working in that office, we actually launched an accelerator to actually put more resources behind launching startups outside the university. So once we did that in about 2014, we said, if we're launching startups, we need organized capital to invest in these startups. So we started having conversations and first meetings with business leaders across the community about what would it look like to launch an angel network? How should we go about doing this? Who do we need to bring to the table to do this? Who are the right partners that can help support this? Started having those meetings. After about 6 months of conversations, we actually launched in January of 2015. And why this is important for me and my personal story of working in tech transfer is very innovative ideas are getting developed at the university. You know, the solutions to the world's energy problems, food problems, healthcare problems are getting developed in university labs, and they need to get out of the university labs and into the end user, into your hands, into the doctor's hands, into the world so that we can solve some of these issues. Some of the services that our organization provides, our primary customer is the investor, our secondary customer is the entrepreneur. So the services that we provide as an organization, we source deals for our meetings, we vet each deal and vet all the deals that we see in a year for the highest quality deal flow. We organize the meetings, we prepare and mentor entrepreneurs. We provide due diligence on each investment opportunity that once there's interest from our initial investors. We provide investment education to our members, and then we monitor investments once they're made. Our investment criteria, you know, this is somewhat loose. I mean, we're not hard and fast by any of these main criteria metrics, but our main strategy is to invest alongside other angel networks. So I mentioned there's 240 across the U.S. Most of the time, if an angel network is going to invest in a deal, they're not going to completely fund that deal. So they need to rely on syndicating or sharing that deal with other angel investors. So we've got great relationships with each of the angel networks in the state of Texas. We've got great relationships in Colorado, New Mexico, and really across the country that share their deals with us and send their deals our way. We also prefer to invest locally, whether it's a local company or a tie to Texas Tech. Typically, a company shouldn't have a valuation of more than $10 million. And you know, one of our key things that we look for is you must have good traction in the marketplace, market validation with your business in order to really be considered for it to be investable through the Lubbock Angel Network. What does an angel investor typically look like? they're very different than venture capitalists. They're making individual decisions. Typically, they're investing between $15,000 to $100,000. That amount varies pretty drastically. We invest sort of at a different stage than venture capitalists. Sometimes we invest alongside them. It really just depends on the deal. But the average valuations of companies in the U.S. that angel investors invest in is $4.6 million pre-money. So a lot of times people think angel investors invest at the ground floor. Typically that's not the case. And then typically the rounds that we're funding are between $150,000 or $1.6 million. And those are averages. So there's of course more and lower amounts. I think this slide gives a great indicator of where angel investors play, where we live. So typically on the top you have the stage of the company, and down on the bottom you have who's investing in those deals, or who's investing at the companies at that stage. So typically you've got founders and family and friends, and then there's another F in there for fools that's not listed there, because those are the people investing at an early stage. And then come individual angels and angel groups after that. What's not on here is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding's applicable really for consumer-based or consumer solutions, and that's a new solution that's entering the marketplace in terms of funding, and it's disrupting some things, and that's really all across this structure here. And there's also corporate venture capitalist groups that do invest sometimes at an earlier stage than angel groups as well. What we've learned as an angel group, I think when I was talking to the organizers, they wanted me to talk about things that we've learned. And I would really say that it's been very small changes and small adjustments that we've made. We haven't made any major shifts. And I think this is important for any entrepreneur, that you always have to be changing the dial on what you're doing. So we've made small tweaks to meeting structure, our investment thesis, or what our investment focus is. How do we lower the barriers to entry for investors and make this easier for investors? How do we work better with partners and other angel groups? And then identifying what our role in the entrepreneurial ecosystem is another thing that I think we've learned. And to wrap it up, I showed you that first slide of people, ideas, and money being what it takes to raise a startup, and really that's wrong. I think this slide tells a more accurate story. And Kim mentioned as well, it takes a community, it takes a village to raise a startup. And so it's really all of these things. It's you being here, it's all of these events, it's intellectual property, it's accelerators and incubators, it's service providers, whether that's lawyers, accountants, digital media experts, and then it's talent at every level. So we hope to continue to be a piece to that ecosystem, add value to this community, and really help drive more successful startups in the community. So with that, I'll take some questions. There's a link to our website, and there's some additional resources about Angel Capital if you want to go dig for some more information and learn about what that looks like.
Okay. Ryan, thank you for going into another part of your career and doing this. It may be dumb questions, but I'm an old professor, so you need to bear with me. One, I understand that you said that this land or whatever it is comes when the proof of concept is already made. Mm-hmm. Then where does the seed money come into? It's basically for marketing or it's for technology development? Can you clarify that? Because you want to take those technologies for which there is already proof of concept done, some market validation done, so you are not dealing with the technology part of it. So if somebody comes with the technology, so this angel network will not fund them to prove if the technology works or not. Am I right? So it's beyond that stage. For example, somebody comes with a patent, that's the costliest publication, I would say, and then your angel network will not fund that person to validate that patent, whether it would be a customer acceptable technology or not. So that is not your dealing. From your chart, it said that it should have proof of concept already established. And where does the money from this angel network play into that system?
Typically, the answer is complex. Typically, a company we invest in businesses. We don't invest, so you need to have a corporate structure. You need to have typically proof of concept. Now, that's not, we'll look at anything and we'll consider anything, any type of investment. there's additional sources of capital that are out there that aren't listed on this system, particularly if you're a researcher, whether it's, and you know very well that there can be money at the university, there's money from the federal government, there's money from the state government, SBIR funding. There's funding sources, and typically the founder and even founders, they've got great relationships sometimes with angel investors, and they may bring one angel investor, two angel investors in at the early onset. I think our goal is to eventually get better and better at vetting earlier stage deals. And earlier stage deals just carry more risk. And so our investors prefer to invest at a later stage. So it's, our primary customer is our investors. So we have to, tailor to their needs and their wants. And so we prefer to invest at a later stage. Not to say we wouldn't invest at an earlier stage, but you may be lacking proof of concept technically, but if you have market validation that solution is solving a real need and there's early science to back up that idea could work, it may not have the true proof of concept that a typical idea would have, but we'll certainly consider that and look at that. Does that answer your question?
Ryan?
Yes.
My question is, how does an entrepreneur engage with land? So what does that process look like? And how does the entrepreneur prepare? Do you have monthly meetings, or is it a dinner? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so our meetings are structured in the evenings from 5 to 7. We give entrepreneurs about 20 minutes to present to our network. We meet about 5 to 7 times a year. So it's by month, or it's once every other month. The first step is to contact us or contact me, and we've contact information through the website. I'm happy to give anyone my contact information as well. And it starts with a conversation of what stage are you at, what's your idea, what type of momentum do you have in the marketplace, initial questions. And then if you're at the right level where maybe there's something here and we should look at it further, then we'll invite you to submit a formal application. And we use an online platform called Proseeder. A lot of the angel groups across the country use that. And so then in there you can upload business plans and upload your financial projections and upload your presentation and lots of documents. And then we comb through that and review that and really just triage that with all the other investment opportunities we're looking at. Yes?
Now that you're 18 months into doing business on a daily basis, have you identified a segment of the business community that is either more receptive to what you're doing or that may be more advantageous in terms of the net impact to the community?
That's a good question. I don't know that we have necessarily identified that specific person. To be an angel investor, you have to meet accreditation standards. So you've got to be an accredited investor. And then a lot of people say angel investing is for those that have a pile of money that they don't mind lighting a match to. So you've got to have the right people that maybe they've got their investments here, and they've got some other money that they wouldn't mind taking some higher risk with some higher reward. And they have fun with that type of investing. So it takes a special person to be an angel investor, someone that knows how to gauge those risks and understands the challenges ahead of those businesses. But angels look different and have different forms, so I don't know that there's one particular sort of subset that meets that criteria.
In terms of your entrepreneurs, is there a segment of either the business or the professional community that you've seen be more receptive to being part of the Angel Network in terms of actually being a startup?
In terms of presenting?
Yeah.
I don't know. If any startup's looking for capital, and so they're, it's a struggle to raise around, and so, I don't know if I have a great answer for you on that. I think lots of entrepreneurs are exploring all their options, whether it's crowdfunding, talking to certain banks, talking to angel groups, talking to family offices or venture capitalists. So. Yes.
One thing, something back to that question that you asked. The LAN's done a really good job in the due diligence. So every company that comes to that has been pre-screened. So there's already one step of risk mitigation that's been taken care of for the angel investor, and taking money and life match to that. You you can do that, that's great, but there are certain sectors and certain specific points that I think that LAM is doing, especially with the due diligence, risk mitigation, they're pre-screened. The sector we had, we presented last week, there's 4 different groups, and they were from 4 different industry spaces, so, you know, it's all over the map, and I think 3 of those were from outside of Texas, and 1 of them within Texas, and
Two in Texas.
outside of Texas. So it was diversified.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like any other type of investing. Diversification is the key. So we try to bring diversified investment opportunities to the network. I mean, software is an aspect of every business, but there's different software models out there, software businesses, and so we try to bring different investment opportunities to the table that sort of at the right stage, that have a lot of the right things that we look for checked off. Yes.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Can you give us an example of what the anticipated return on investment to the Angel Group would be, and what percentage of equity they would have in the company? How do you typically try to structure that?
Yeah, so a lot of times, since our strategy is to share and syndicate with other angel networks and other investors, a lot of times the terms are already dictated once an entrepreneur comes to present to us, because there's already a lead investor in the round. So say a company's raising $1 million, they may already have 800,000 of that in the bank, and they're looking to fill out the rest of the round. So they're coming to us saying, we need 200,000 more, here are the terms of our deal. That's most of the deals we look at. The local deals here, a lot of times we're looking to lead it. And so it's a negotiation with the entrepreneur. And a lot of times it just depends. I mean, the stages of the company we look at, their valuations range anywhere from 3 million all the way up to 15 million. And so depending on, you know, what their projected valuation is of the company, their valuation of the company and what they're asking for, you know, we're looking to take anywhere from, as a group, you know, 3% all the way up to 10% of the company. Anywhere from like 3% all the way up to 30% of the company, just depending on the stage of the company. So typically, you know, we're looking for that type of equity range, but it really just depends on stage of the company and that sort of stuff. Oh, projected return. Projected return, typically we're looking at anywhere from like an 8x to a 12x, which equates to anywhere from like a 40 to 60% IRR on the investments. And then there's unique tax advantages for an angel investor. So if you make it an equity investment and you hold that investment for 5 years, it's 100% capital gains write-off. Question in the back?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One, what's the main way that people find out about you and are able to get in contact? And then also, do you try and get out there for as many entrepreneurs as you can, or do you try and keep it exclusive to those who kind of have to work just to find out how to get in touch with y'all?
We don't try and make it exclusive. We don't try to hide from entrepreneurs. We've got a website. It's easy to find. Out here talking, promoting in the community, because there's power in seeing deal flow. We want to see as many deals as we can in a year. That's going to help us, you know, identify which ones are going to be the best opportunities for our investors. That being said, I mean, it is a little, it's just like anything else. It's networking for the entrepreneur. It's who you know who can refer you in to an angel network. If you can get referred into an angel network by someone that has a good relationship with that angel network, that's going to be helpful to you. So it's, you know, you can contact me blindly out of the website and go from there. You can get referred in from one of our members or from someone that has a relationship with us. And then also, you know, from my standpoint as an administrator of the Angel Network Group, if we start a relationship with you and we invest in your company, I'm going to help share and syndicate your deal to all the Angel Network groups that I have a relationship with. Because if our angel investors invest in your deal, we want to make sure that you're fully funded, so that our investment has the best chance to succeed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Ryan, can you talk a little bit about the makeup of the group? Just talk about accredited investors and kind of membership and how you guys operate, and then I will follow up.
Yeah. So we've got about 30 members today. To be an accredited investor, there's basically the main definition is you need to have $1 million net income or net worth, not including your house. Or if you're single, you need to have made $200,000 consecutively for 2 years. Or if you're married, $300,000 consecutively for 2 years. So that's sort of the barrier to accreditation. Is that what you were asking as far as our makeup?
Just kind of how your group operates a little bit.
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit entity. To join, you need to apply, and then we have dues for our members. So that's how we, we don't have a ton of expenses, but to fund our operation, there's fees for the investors to sign up, and then we also look for sponsorships in the community to help support our operation as well.
And then to follow up, you mentioned crowdfunding earlier, and so right now, as far as I know at least, is crowdfunding for products like Kickstarter. Do you think there'll be a crowdfunding for equity kind of a thing that happens?
Yeah, I mean that exists today under, they've sort of have some handcuffs on how they can operate because of the law, and then the law is actually going to change in May. So that's absolutely going to change. The jury's still out on exactly how that's going to operate. I don't think angel groups will go away. Crowdfunding certainly will have an impact on angel groups. I think it will ultimately benefit entrepreneurs, and it will ultimately benefit angel investors, but they're going to have to adjust. Angel groups will have to adjust how they operate a little bit, and certainly be aware of the crowdfunding platforms that exist.
Just to get a sense of how the last 18 months have been, how many entrepreneurs have you funded and how many investors do you have?
Yeah, so we've looked at about 28, 30 deals in a year, and we've invested. So we started last February of 2015. Since then, we've looked at about 30 deals, and we've invested in 6 deals for right about $750,000 total investment.
Investors, how many do you have? Whole bunch or how?
30 members. 30 investors.
Okay.
And how many of those are for Lubbock companies?
2. Mm-hmm.
The other question I had is, you mentioned something about the companies needing to be corporations. Do you require them to have an LLC, or do you use sole props too? Or?
Yeah, so we don't have a strict requirement on that. It depends on the stage of the company. Early on, it's fine if they're an LLC. If they're at a later stage and they're investing, some angel groups require them to be incorporated, and VCs will require generally incorporation, but it costs a lot more money to be incorporated. So if they're early on, I think if they're an earlier stage company, it's fine if they're an LLC. We'll work with them and do that, but knowing that there will be a time when they need to make that transition.
What are you looking for in other people? Like, what are y'all trying to do? Who are y'all going after to get? What's y'all's goals?
For our goals, our primary customer is the investor. So our goal is to continue to put good investment opportunities in front of them, make it fun and engaging and exciting for them. If they're bringing their friends and they're telling them you should come try this out, we think we're doing our job. We're not necessarily setting goals of we need to be making this much investment this year and this much investment this year. Our goals are more operationally of how do we make it easier for investors to make investments. How do we structure our meetings so that it's easier for them to attend and easier for them to invest. So our goals are more along operations and also making it quicker to fund these entrepreneurs, not dragging them out on a long-term basis. And then in the community, our role in the ecosystem, one of our goals is to continue to foster entrepreneurship. I mean, ultimately, we would love to be in a position where we're seeing more and more ideas coming out of Texas Tech. We're seeing more and more ideas coming out of Lubbock, and businesses that are ready to fund they're at the stage where they can be funded by us. So, part of our goal is to do what we can to help support that. And whether it's going to be a mentor at certain events or working with the high schools or working with Texas Tech University and mentoring a 3-day startup. So, our goals are to help support the ecosystem and play our part in that ecosystem.
Did I hear you correctly at the first when you said y'all are affiliated with Tech Research? So I I guess my question is, if you've got professors throughout the tech community that are working on research projects or ideas, y'all affiliate with them or y'all help them patent that and that's y'all own part of it?
No, that was more my personal history. So I spent time at Texas Tech in the office that did that. We are not affiliated with Texas Tech. We're a standalone nonprofit entity. That being said, we do have good relationships with Texas Tech, and so we do work. We will visit with faculty that have ideas and help them guide them to the right path. But there's also other resources that are available to them prior to maybe engaging us, whether it's at the university, at the Small Business Development Center, that can help get researchers and their ideas further along before they're really ready to engage with us.
What made you choose to be a nonprofit? I mean, maybe that's how all these work is to know, but.
I mean, individual investors are making individual decisions. So they're not investing through our entity. So,
Venture capitalist.
right, exactly. So, you know, if an investor sees an idea they like, our job is just to connect them with the CEO of that company, and they make the investment. So, nonprofit made sense for us because we're not generating any revenue.
Right, maybe I missed it. How do you generate revenues? Although you are non-profit, apart from operating expense, there should be some.
Membership fees from our investors and sponsorships.
Is it flat or depending upon how?
It's flat. It's $1,300, $1,500
per year?
Yes.
Based on the first they have to be qualified, you said
Mhm.
$300,000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not their primary residence, but they can have other properties, right? You won't count their primary residence, their house, but other properties you will count as their net worth.
So so accreditation is a self-check thing. So investors have to certify that they meet accreditation standards. There's not we don't run a background check or run an accreditation check on investors. And the accreditation rules are there to protect investors from being duped. So they set those standards based on what would a sophisticated investor typically meet. SEC, those are SEC guidelines. Mm-hmm.
Ryan, can you talk a little bit about the 6 deals you did invest in, and particularly the 2 that are tech? Did they come out of research that was done here?
They did not come out of research at the university. One of them had 2 TTU graduates that are running the company. It's a technology company focused on automating many tasks in the oil and gas field. So they have remote monitoring tools and then remote control tools, so they can shut down valves and monitor certain valves in the oil field. Right now that's manual in a lot of processes. Someone has to get in a truck, go out there and check readings and do certain things. So that's one company we invested in. They're a little bit later stage company. They're here locally called Amplsign Labs. They were raising about $2 million, and so we're at the tail end of that and helped fill that out. The other one is they've got offices here in Lubbock and they've got offices in Austin. They're a big data company for agriculture. So they are a third party. So, you know, a farmer right now, they've got several places they can go for data. They've got their weather app. They've got certain places they've got 10 different sources they can go check for information related to weather, bugs, everything that they need to know to manage their field. And so this is a intermediary system that combines all of that information and makes it a single point of place to look all that information up. And then from there, they've also got several ways to output information. So whether a farmer sees a plant and sees bugs on it, they can take a picture of it, send it out, and they're instantly going to get feedback. So they're not competing with other big data groups in the marketplace. They make it easier for them to pull all of that data together for farmers. And so they've got offices in Austin, and then they've got a co-op here in town that helps basically, it's part of their distribution plan.
How long does it take, how's the due diligence process? So a person, an entrepreneur submits their application, they've met with you, they've submitted their application, and then to negotiate the terms, how long does that take typically?
I think the fastest it's happened is maybe a month. The longest it's taken is probably 3 months. So it depends on the stage of the company. If the company comes in and says, hey, we're raising $1 million, we've raised 850 so far, we're only looking for 150 left. Houston Angel Network Group has already done due diligence. Here's the due diligence packet that they did on us. that can go really quickly. If it's a local company and we're leading due diligence, that can take longer. We're going to look at the business plan. We're going to look at articles of formation. We're going to look at the financials. We're going to look at the intellectual property and check the patents. We're going to maybe do an interview with a customer or see some market validation. We're going to ask for everything we can look at, and that process, it's part on the entrepreneur to provide all that information. And that's on us to go through that and comb through that. We're going to check resources and check sources on just about everything.
Ryan, you said that those are 2 students of Tech, but
No, they're Texas Tech graduates. I mean, they're graduated 10 plus years ago.
if they are students, they still own it. Using new Regents law, but Tech doesn't own it. The students, they invented even when they are at Tech, they basically own it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do you have plans to recruit more local angels, and do you have a target for the total number that you want?
Yeah, that's a great question. We want to get to 50 members, just because we feel like that's critical mass for us. Not every angel can make a meeting. I think typically our meeting attendance is about 60% of our membership base. So to get to 50 members would give us a full room for entrepreneurs. So that's our goal. We're not out actively recruiting angel investors per se. Our typical recruitment strategy is organic. So our members bring a guest, let them see how the meeting works, let them see how it's structured, and then thereafter they can decide if they want to join.
So as a follow-up, from the standpoint of moving locally developed technologies along, it would seem like having local angels who might understand the problems that are being solved and the local resources that have already gone into these projects might be worthwhile.
No, absolutely.
One of those guys, one of those F's on the left side of the figure there, that's an enormous hurdle. And so I would just put in a plug for getting more local angels who might have more interest in promoting things that are developed here.
Yeah, no, I mean that's certainly something we want. It's not something we're actively out doing as an administrator of the network. And there's power in the network. There's power in having people with different skill sets as part of the network. Whether you have doctors that have medical expertise or engineers that can provide engineering expertise, that's something that we want more skill sets in the group. Because if you can have more eyes on a deal, and then you start seeing who else is involved in these deals, that's helpful as an investor when you kind of have groupthink analyzing these deals.
All right, to respect everyone's time, let's go ahead and wrap it up with our final question. What can we as a community do for you? Keep coming to 1 Million Cups. Keep being a part of the ecosystem. Mentor an entrepreneur. Lubbock has a lot of momentum. Whether it's LEDA helping support entrepreneurship, whether it's school systems, Friendship creating an entrepreneurship track that Keith Patrick's heading up. Service providers, keep encouraging them to help entrepreneurs at a discounted rate. I know Carrie Winfrey here, she helped us with our logo up in the top right, and she's great. Keep being a part of the ecosystem, keep coming, and we can create a system that helps more entrepreneurs and helps create more high-tech startups here in Lubbock. And knowing you personally, Ryan, I know you've helped us, and I went through the Kinetic Accelerator and appreciated your input, so thank you for leading by example. Thanks. Let's give him a round of applause.